Chapter 4, Core Values and Priorities, Discovering Your Core Values and Personal Principles. What do you stand for when no one is watching? There was a time I thought I knew who I was. I worked hard, I achieved, I moved forward. By most standards, I was doing it right. But every time the noise faded, when the tasks stopped, the screens went dark, and the world grew quiet, I felt empty, as if all my efforts mattered everywhere except inside me. That was the alarm, the quiet signal that I had been building a life on someone else's blueprint. I hadn't chosen my priorities. I had inherited them, or borrowed them, until one day I paused, truly paused, and asked myself the question that changed everything. What actually matters to me? This isn't a philosophical question. It's a survival question, a truth-telling question, and it's the gateway to your inner reboot. What are values, and why without them we lose ourselves? Values aren't just pretty words on posters or company walls. They're your inner compass, the silent force that guides you when the world turns foggy. They're like deep roots under the surface. You may not see them, but they're what holds you together in storms. When your actions go against your values, you suffer, even when you're successful. I realized that being honest, having freedom, creating, helping, evolving weren't just things I liked. They were parts of me I couldn't live without. Whenever I sacrificed them, I lost a part of myself, no matter what I gained in return. How to discover your true values. My real values didn't show up at a seminar or in a list of top 10 virtues. They revealed themselves in the darkest nights when nothing else made sense. Crisis burns away the superficial. Only the essential remains. Here are questions that help me uncover mine. What do I see in the world that deeply outrages me? What would I never forgive myself for betraying? What do I regret when I ignore it? What gives me a deep, quiet sense of dignity? True values aren't just what's right, they're what resonate in your bones. What stays sacred, even if no one sees or applauds it. Values, goals, but they shape your goals. Most people confuse values with goals, but they're not the same. A goal is a destination, a value is a direction. Let's say, goal, earn $100,000. Value, freedom, or self-expression. You can change your goal. Your values, they remain. If you chase goals that don't align with your core values, you'll eventually burn out or feel lost, no matter how much you accomplish. Principles, the shield that protects your values. Once you discover what matters most, the next question is, how do I protect it in a world that tempts me to betray myself for comfort, approval, or fear? The answer? Principles. Principles are the rules you set, not for the world, but for yourself. They are your personal code that keeps you in harmony with your deepest truth. Examples. If your value is freedom, I don't commit to projects that kill my autonomy. If your value is authenticity, I won't betray who I am just to be liked. Principles aren't rigidity, they're self-respect. Choosing yourself, again and again. When you define your values, you sign a contract with your real self. And yes, that's not always easy. You may have to let go of others' expectations, unlearn old roles, walk away from paths that don't feel like home. But in return, you get something priceless. You get yourself back, and only then you begin to truly build a life that feels like yours. Hierarchy of priorities. What truly matters to me? Have you ever felt like your day was consumed by constant activity, but by evening, all you're left with is exhaustion and the thought, I did a lot, but nothing meaningful? I felt that way more than once, and not because I was lazy. On the contrary, I was always in motion, but it was chaotic motion with no clear center. It wasn't until I defined not just my values, but the hierarchy of my priorities that everything began to align. Having values is great, but knowing which ones matter most, that's critical. Not all values are equal, and that's okay. One of the biggest mistakes in personal growth is trying to uphold every value at the same time. Be kind, honest, independent, family-oriented, successful, calm, generous, disciplined. But life forces us to choose, and it's in that choice that we discover what's truly at our core. For a long time, I thought growth was my number one priority. But when someone close to me fell into crisis, I dropped everything to be by their side. And in that moment, I realized love and support are my foundation. Growth is a tool, but not the summit. Hierarchy is your inner order. Imagine a tower. What forms its foundation? What belongs on the second floor? And what could be removed without causing it all to collapse? The same applies to your priorities. What are you never willing to betray, no matter what? What are you willing to pause if it conflicts with something more essential? What might be important only during this stage of your life? Personally, I shaped my hierarchy of priorities during a deep internal crisis. Here's what it looks like: 1. Inner integrity, living in alignment with myself. 2. Love and relationships. 3. Personal freedom. 4. Realizing my potential. 5. Making a contribution to the world. This doesn't mean one negates the other. It simply means that if they ever come into conflict, I know what comes first. Why this matters now more than ever. Every day, the world throws dozens of important things at you. But if you don't define what truly matters, the world will do it for you. Ads, social media, other people's expectations, breaking news, all tugging at your attention like strings on a puppet. Before you know it, you end up far from where you ever intended to go. A priority hierarchy isn't a rigid checklist. It's a living system, flexible to your life stage, but always with a core. And that core is your deepest truth. Exercise. 3 questions for inner clarity. 1. What am I willing to fight for, even when it's hard? 2. What am I not willing to sacrifice, even for success? 3. When do I feel most alive and most real? These aren't logical questions. They're heart questions, and your answers are your priorities. Once you know them, decisions become easier. Your inner compass no longer spins in circles. Priorities, like placing stillness in the noise. Living without priorities is like hiking in the mountains without a map. You might walk for hours, even uphill, but not in the right direction. A clear hierarchy of priorities brings peace. It doesn't kill spontaneity, it clarifies it. It doesn't cage you, it grounds you. And it lets every yes be conscious, and every no be courageous. And now, the real question: why? If your priorities are already clear, it's time to ask, why all this movement? What is the deeper meaning behind it all? Authenticity versus external expectations. How to distinguish your true values from the imposed ones. The first time I asked myself, why do I even want this? It hit me like a bolt of electricity. It was as if something deep inside whispered, "This isn't yours." Back then, I didn't know it yet, but that was the beginning of the most important internal process, separating my true self from the self shaped by other people's expectations. We are all born authentic. Children don't try to please, they just are. They laugh when something's funny, cry when it hurts. They marvel at the world and don't hide their dreams. But over time, we learn a dangerous art: adaptation. The dress code of life, how we begin wearing other people's values: parents, teachers, friends, social media, culture, all of them, with good intentions or not, show us what's considered right. And if you hear something long enough, it starts to sound like truth. You need a stable job. Don't stand out. Career first, then life. A family is a must. Money defines success. These phrases become imprinted in our subconscious. They turn into our internal rulebook. But what if these rules aren't even yours? Eventually, you wake up with the gnawing feeling that you're living someone else's life, even if everything looks like it should. On the inside, you feel empty. That's a symptom of one thing: a loss of authenticity. How to recognize imposed values. There are signs. Imposed values usually create ongoing inner tension, come with guilt, shame, or fear of not being enough. Don't bring satisfaction even when the goal is achieved. Make you prove yourself to others, not to yourself. Drain you instead of energizing you. Authentic values, on the other hand, bring a deep sense of meaning. Make you feel alive, not just functional. Resonate with your inner truth, even if they go against societal norms, my experience. When I took off the mask, for a long time, I believed that who I was depended on what I achieved: degrees, projects, status, results. But deep down, I longed for something else: for creation, for depth, for meaning. It wasn't until I gave myself permission to not meet expectations that everything clicked into place. The paradox? The world only started seeing the real me when I stopped acting like someone else. Practice. The 4 mirrors of authenticity. Answer these honestly, just for yourself. 1. What do I do only because I'm supposed to? 2. When do I feel like I'm playing a role? 3. What dreams have I postponed because they're not serious? 4. What would I do if I knew for sure that no one would judge me? These aren't questions for public confession. They're a private encounter with yourself, and that encounter is what opens the door to deeper clarity. Authenticity is not selfishness, it's honesty. Living in alignment with yourself isn't about ignoring others, it's about being responsible for your own life. Because if your yes isn't truly yours, everything else becomes fake, and people can feel that. Realness attracts, pretending repels, coming home to yourself. Distinguishing what's yours from what's imposed isn't a rebellion, it's a return to who you were before the world taught you to be appropriate. And to unlock your true self, you don't need to become someone else. You just need to let go of everything that was never you.